I always knew I was going to lead a wild sort of life. I'm actually Scottish, but I grew up in East Africa. As a child, I was immersed in different cultures, different tastes, different foods in the villages, as well as in people's wealthy homes. And I think it must have just been some kind of passion for me at that age, because my parents realized that food was more than just a sort of phase for me. My cooking is probably reflective of my general outlook on life. Everything I do is drawn from my travels. It's all about sharing, it's sharing what you've got. So one day I decided with all my travels that I actually didn't really know my own country. And I had a husband at that point, and we both decided that it would be fun to try and do up a ruin somewhere in the Scottish Highlands and create a business, a sort of good life idea, To me, the place just spoke to me, and I felt completely at home already, even though the place was only just livable in. There were jackdaws living in the actual house, but we had no electricity, we had no water, we had no double glazing, no phone. The challenges in those days were kind of quite fun, because we didn't have children in the first few years. But after my husband left, when my children were very, very little, I still had to do all of that. So for years I would ski in and out, but with one child on my back and supplies on a sleigh or supplies in a pack on my back. And a lot of people told me that I should move. Everybody said to me, you've got to move, you're being selfish, you're being irresponsible, how are you going to make a living there on your own, and your kids are going to be cut off from other children and all of that kind of thing. But I just decided that, because I'm stubborn, I just decided that I chose this place because it reminded me of my childhood, and the space around me is my sanctuary, as well as my sanity. And I could actually probably be the best parent I could be to my children by being here, by giving them things that I valued as a child, nature, and enjoying the weather no matter what, enjoying exploring. I felt that was so much more important, and I decided to stay. What I did is not what other people would necessarily do, and what I did wasn't necessarily right. But our home, this place, the Cairngorms, the Scottish Highlands, has anchored my children. They have an absolute love of Scotland. In Scotland, we're still lucky to have pockets of wilderness, and I'm just lucky that although I'm not that far off the beaten track, I'm far enough to feel that I'm also kind of living a little bit wild. I feel much more at home and in tune with myself, and sort of in tune with who we are as people when I'm in a wild place. Life has slowed down, and you're surrounded by something that's so much greater than you, and it can be empowering, it can be calming, it can be inspiring. I love that feeling that you wake up to the sounds of the birds, and you watch the light, and you are in tune with the sounds, There's no other sounds. Even in my home, you very rarely hear a car engine, or you just hear animals, birds, wind, and sometimes silence is actually almost noisy or tuneful. That kind of thing just makes you feel alive.